and the Phillies won. Eagles about to come on. I was like, I ain't make a video today. Let me make a quick video. And I'm gonna tag Daryl Weston on this one right here, right? And the reason why I'm want to tag Mr. Weston, we've been tagging each other on Facebook and on I think he's on Twitter X also. I'm gonna tag him over there too, maybe tomorrow or later on today. Because he's been building a nice political page over these years, and he has. I'm not even going to do that to him, but Roland Martin is his anti nemesis, or right. We gotta figure out the right prefix and colloquialism to make their friendship, quote unquote friendship, entertaining, because politics should be entertaining as well. And I'm tagging him because I'm about to share some Royce White, right? Now Royce White is a unique figure because he's quote unquote a black MAGA Republican. So he's running for. He ran for state senator. He ran for representative, and he's going to run again. Like he's a politician now. He used to play basketball. Was drafted in the NBA, and whatever happened, his mental health issues, etc. He'll explain it himself on his own on the page. But he has a page that says "Call Me Crazy," and he's dropping jewels. And I'm gonna tag Mr. Weston because it's like it is sitting back seeing him develop into the professional that he is when it comes to being a politician, and sharing his religious, political, and scientific views, because they all three are basically three equilateral. I used to say a real cute geometric understanding, because geometry is like, well, that's what next for my son. Well, that's what they used to use when teaching proofs when I was in high school. What in the world? Why are you stopping? What'd I say? Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna call this episode Samurai Western cutting the necks off of the ninjas. I'm being facetious. I'm you know what I mean? Like I try to do some kind of creative hip hop name to the shows to help you try to figure out what's the difference between the community consciousness and culture that I grew up loving, and who we are as Gen Xers, being born from 1960 to 1979. All right, now I know they want to include 1961, 2, 3, and 4 as being baby boomers, but now y'all can have Spike Lee and Ice-T, and I'm still respectful of Ice-T. Spike Lee, he kind of sold his 40 acres and a mule. So, but we'll still dive into that more. But I'm going to share this Royce right now, and then I might play a little bit of this game. I might play something else. But I did just want to start it off with this backdrop, like, because I'm using my Apple TV to play video games, as well as about to enjoy the Eagles game coming up next. So, but there it is. It's less than 10-minute video. Check it out real quick. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share. And I'm doing this like I'm trying to get my YouTube channel up a little bit, and all these other things going on. So I hope y'all enjoy it, and I'll be cutting off in 3, 2.
Genuinely lifting up the name of Christ as a beacon to those who may need or may share a common love and respect and appreciation and submission to Christ. It is never wrong to hold up the name of Jesus Christ, ever. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've done. You could be a convicted you could be a convicted felon, who was tried and convicted for double homicide, or a burglar, or a prostitute, or an OnlyFans model, or whatever the case may be. You could be a homosexual. It is never wrong to uplift the name of Christ. Now, does that mean we condone all the behaviors of anybody who uplifts the name of Christ? Absolutely not. And it seems like a simple thing to separate, but it gets very hard for people. It feels like we're more inclined to shy away from uplifting the name of Christ out of a fear that we don't meet his expectations, that we don't live up to the Christ-like way. And that's a mistake. That's a mistake. In fact, categorically, it's a great failure of Christian theology and an understanding of what it means to be Christian, because all of us will fall short. So if none of us are going to hold up the name of Christ unless we meet the standard that Christ has laid out for us, then Christ's name would disappear. Because there'd be not a man on earth who's worthy to hold his name up. And just as history goes, if it wasn't for the Apostle Paul and the Apostle Peter and the rest of those in the early church that came out of Israel up through Asia Minor and made their way into Europe, this white woman that I was talking to yesterday wouldn't even be a Christian. If it wasn't for other people holding up the name of Christ and promoting Christ, and you could even say selling Christ, a lot of people say that the Apostle Paul was one of the greatest salesmen in human history, because he had a very strategic approach about his mission and spreading the gospel. But if it wasn't for people holding up the name of Christ, Christianity would have ceased to exist. That was part of the plan. That was part of the design. That was part of what Christ laid out. That's why after he died and rose, he went to certain people to promote his name. So even an example like that shows you some of the pitfalls that we're dealing with in the Christian community, and where we need to really tighten down the screws on the way we think about God and Christ, and certainly the courage that we have to promote the gospel. Right? And we're going to roll into some of these reaction videos here, starting with Mayor Jacob Fry. And as we're talking about now, this was in the wake of the shooting last week. Here we go.
And I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community. Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids. Kids died today. This needs to be about them. This needs to be wrapping our arms around these families with every bit of love that we can possibly show. And I know that our Minneapolis family and well beyond is prepared to do exactly that. And so my message to everyone out there is, again, these families are experiencing some acute pain right now. But don't just think of these as somebody else's kids. Think of your own. Let's make sure that we're acting now to not just say it's never happening again, but ensure it doesn't.
Well, I mean, this is what you see from politicians. This is a very political statement, and he makes sure to qualify his statement with his advocacy or his alliance with the LGBTQ movement and community, that so far as they see or hear no scrutiny or criticism in the wake of this school shooting, which many of you are already seeing all across social media. People are starting to question why it is that the trans community is exempt from a rightful and statistically backed questioning after the shooting, in the wake of the shooting, and some others that have happened across the country in recent years. And let's just be frank. Jacob Fry is everything that's wrong with American politics. He's everything that's wrong with state and local politics. He's a chameleon, and he's an individual that will say whatever he thinks is necessary or do whatever he thinks is necessary to maintain his position. And there's just a lack of humility in that before God. There's a lack of genuineness, and there's a lack of sacred honor in the way that he approaches politics. And it's part of the reason why you see Minneapolis in the shape that it's in now. And Minneapolis is in bad shape. Two things I want to say. One is the trans community, by their own admittance, is suffering from a disproportionate amount of severe mental illness. Now, they will argue that the trans identity isn't a part of that mental illness, but even if we separate the two and we just talk about people's self-reported mental health struggles, whether it be anxiety, depression, psychosis, whatever the case may be, the trans community has some of the worst mental health, self-reported mental health struggles of any demographic in our country. So to make the claim that there is no connection, no corollary between being transgender and maybe predisposed to a mental health that would, in this case, predicate a school shooting, is completely dishonest in every way. It's completely dishonest. I mean, what makes it more dishonest, like I said on my show, I think it was Friday, did we do it? I'm not sure. I forgot now what day we did the last show. But like I said in the last episode about the school shooting, if it was a white man with a Donald Trump hat or a Donald Trump t-shirt or Donald, glory be to Donald Trump in his manifesto, he was a Donald Trump sycophant, they would have certainly said that Donald Trump, the MAGA movement, and the right wing of Republicans in America radicalized this individual, and they should be held accountable, or they should feel some sense of remorse and culpability in what happened at that school that day. The same way they try to make it about the Second Amendment. All of us who advocate for the Second Amendment, myself included, should feel some sense of guilt because of this shooting. Right here in the opening statement by our Minneapolis mayor, he makes sure that the trans community, the identity of trans people or the LGBTQ movement carries no responsibility whatsoever for what took place. And it's just not rational. It's not even logical. Of course, there are a lot of things that go into what took place at the school shooting. At this school last week, in any school shooting. There are a lot of factors that go into it. It's not univariable. It's multivariate. There are a lot of things that go into it. But to argue that him being trans has nothing to do with it at all, or that the trans community or that the LGBTQ ideology or culture that is very prominent has nothing to do with it is absolutely dishonest. And these are the kind of people that are running our country and our city. They're running things. They're in charge. It should. When you see a politician make a statement that's that dishonest, it should keep you up at night. It certainly does for me. That's why I decided to run. Let's run the next clip here.
There it is. And my favorite word combination that Royce uses is sacred honor. Right? Whenever he'll say epistemology. He will use my word, and shout out to him for it was after I started. I was the first to say tautological epistemology. I'm the one that coined the phrase of that the hip hop atonement of tautological epistemology is real, not irrational necessarily, but the reals include rationals and irrational numbers. But we'll get more into that real mathematics. So, okay, that's my cut. You know what I mean? But I mean, what do y'all say? You know what I'm saying? I know we don't have to, we can't have these deep conversations, because of that their community, and why are we being against their community when it's you know what I mean, we need to look at the hip hop community. Of course we don't say hip hop, we'll say black, but they don't say black community. They say who, right? The African American community, right? And it's like y'all just playing, y'all trying to play three card money, or the ball under the three shells to trick the people on what culture is the real culture to blame. That's the communism, right? That's the falseness. That's the fake, right? And that was the downfall of the lgbtqia plus dot DEI dot PDF files. My peoples hate when I do that, because I want to make sure that I'm all inclusive, make sure that we know that diversity, equity, inclusion was a part of the PDF political policy files that the lesbians, the gays, the bis, the trans, the I, which is what the intersex. Oh, we don't even know what that is. The asexual, the plus, what used to be the H, not to be confused with the heteronormativity, but the handicap. But they had to get rid of the handicap because, you know what I mean, like, not everybody in the wheelchair is gay, right? Y'all starting to like, but y'all can't laugh at that. That's why we still struggling as a people. You know what I mean? We can't laugh at anything that they don't want us to laugh at. And then who's they them? I'm telling you who's they them. Customer service. Any corporation you go to customer service. It will drive you mad, right? Unless it's black women and you're a black woman, then they'll hook you up. You know what I mean? But if you, especially if it's a black, well, if it's white women and a black man, they'll hook you up. But black women helping a black man that, hey, I need to change to catch the bus or something. Oh no, that's public policy. That's policy. That's store policy. I can't open that drawer for nothing except for if you buy something, right? Even if you want to, even if you bought it and you want to return it so that you can buy it again in order to get changed instead of, right? That's the game they playing. So, I don't know what's going on. I know what's going on. I just explained it. But this game is a cool game. I played enough, didn't I? Okay, got a cutscene. Okay, gator fight. Uh-oh, couple gators. Ooh. Dyson. Uh-oh. But they got guns? Gators with guns? Oh yes, they got guns. Gators with guns. All right, what time is it? How much time did I get? I gave y'all enough right there. I mean, yeah, y'all get it. You know what I mean? But it's you're dealing with the frauds that want to, as soon as they see Royce and they know that he's a Donald Trump supporter and explain it, because he's been explaining it ever since the election and everything on why he wanted to, and that's when you trigger the so-called, black Democrats, and they just want to call him a traitor to his race when voting, for the Democratic Party and what Joe Biden did by not taking accountability for opening up that border and letting in all those illegals that was bringing in fentanyl into the black communities, able to spike the minor drugs that a lot of baby mamas would probably smoke a little bit or whatever, not knowing that they were doing something way worse than what Bill Cosby did to women at what's his name, Playboy Mansion. I got Hugh Hefner's mansion, you know. So now that's why it's you know, we have to find out what was going on at P Diddy, not P Diddy party. What's the other guy? The other guy's party, and you know Trump was there, and then Trump also did this and that, and you know what I mean, and then Letta James, and all she's doing is that Big Tish? Yeah, that's Big Tish. All she was doing was being proud that she doesn't have to have a relationship with the father. She can go down there, proudly go down to Planned Parenthood and make the choice all by herself, right? When the truth is, it's all about love God, respect Lord, seek wisdom, Sabbath day, fatherhood, mother. I could just say father, mother, but it's all about the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. That's how we're going to change this game, right? Because we are the ones that's supposed to tell the truth, and that's what we're doing now. We can't. The lying is over, right? So yeah, you can think it's do not kill, but it's actually just live life, right? You got to tell a 2-year-old not to kill, right? That's when you're dealing with somebody that's has serious mental health issues. If he's thinking like Anakin Skywalker, that killing a bunch of babies is going to give him more powerful, make him more powerful dark Sith. This has been another beginning of explaining hip hop culture, which started way back in the days, and where the knowledge began. My son it was as simple as me telling my son that's a Minion Mobile, and he was like, Dad, that's an alliteration. So I had to look up the term alliteration, and I was like, yo, you know what alliteration means, right? That the first letter of all the words strung together, begins the same. So that's when we just looked at each other and we just started spitting it. Music, mix, mellow, maintain to make melodies for MCs, motivate the breaks, be everlasting. I can go on for days and days with rhyme displays that engrave deep as x-rays. I could take a phrase that's rarely heard, flip it, now it's your daily word. Love God, our Father all the time. Hip-hop life, love one. As God is love, hip-hop is lifetime. It's holy, you know what I mean? In the end, it's all God's will. So make sure y'all give respect and proper due where it's due. Don't come at to me saying, I say love God. Don't come at to me saying, yes, but, no, but. All right, here come the evil one, right? Because money is nothing more than the fourth dimensional illusion that really doesn't exist. Hip hop is the art of making the most out of life. One, God is understood. Peace and happiness to you all.